Shows 11-2. Salubre, Fine Sun and Irish Emperor all at 7-1. La Fontaine is at 9s. St Jonathan, Wearmouth and Iskandaroon all 14-1, 25-1 bar those.
Yes, this is the dress rehearsal that really matters, because over the 1.25 mile course they come round Tattenham Corner, and the question is, will they then allow the force of the corner to carry them out across to or near the far side to the course up which those 2-year-olds came in our last race. This is the real test, because this time the jockeys will actually have to make a conscious choice, and I very much doubt if they'll all make the same one. Well, here's the Daily Mirror horse, number 6, Mirror Boy, the mount of Brian Rice today. I was reading Noel Whitcomb, the imaginative founder of the Daily Mirror Punters Club, was reading him about Mirror Boy's chance. He fancies him, he says, but he's very much afraid that this distance may be just a little bit short of his best. Probably that's true. Probably Mirror Boy's best distance is 1.5 miles. This is only 1.25 miles, but nevertheless he's run really well in 2 of his 3 races this year. He ran well against Daring Rose, who people are very rude about Daring Rose. He's jolly hard to beat when he's really going. That was at Newbury last time out, and I think Mirror Boy looks really well. We know he's in form. The question is, will something go a little bit too fast for him over this 1.25 miles? That's St Jonathan in the foreground, the mount of Steve Cawthon, who of course has got a ride in the Derby, as has Brian Rice. Steve Cawthon, the beginning of last season, he and Barry Hills rather hoped that this fellow St Jonathan might be a Guineas horse. He turned out not to be that good, but he won his first races very easily last year, and this season we know he's fit anyway, because he's been over to the south of France, run at Cannes-sur-Mer, had 3 races there, was second in one of them. That was the best he could do, and he looks really well. I would say that he's got plenty of weight myself. Number 2, the mount of Steve Cawthon, St Jonathan. And there's the Northern Hope in front of him, Fine Sun, Nick Howe, for whom Fine Sun goes particularly well, trained by Sally Hall, who's done such wonders with him, because this 4-year-old is a gelding and has been wonderfully consistent. Last season he won 3 races and was placed in 5 out of his 11, and those 3 included real good races like the XYZ Handicap at Newcastle and the Magnet Cup at York. And this season he's only had 2 runs, probably needed the first one, and won the second pretty comfortably. It was not bad form at all either. He won that was at Ripon, and although he's got 9 stone 8 minus Howe's £5 allowance, I'd give him a tremendous each-way chance. He never runs a bad race. Number 3, Fine Sun, but I believe we've now got a clear favourite.
And now we have the clear favourite Easter Sun at 5-1 for 9-2. 1 Fleet Street 11-2 from 5s, and Mirror Boy also 11-2. Salubre, Fine Sun and Irish Emperor at 7-1. La Fontaine at 9, St Jonathan 14s, Wearmouth 14s, and Iskandaroon also 14-1, 25-1 bar.
Well, we've seen those 2. I'm full of hope that in a moment we'll find something else. I'd like to look at 1 Fleet Street, who's I think on the left, if we go pan to the left a bit. 1 Fleet Street in Mr. Friedman's colours, yellow with black spots. That's Mirror Boy. There's 1 Fleet Street over on the left now. Paul Cook rides this Habitat colt for Peter Walwyn. Not sure why he does. Maybe it was that Joe Mercer didn't want to get down to that lighter weight. But 1 Fleet Street is a front runner, so it'll be particularly interesting to see where Paul goes. Yes, Joe would have had to carry 1 pound overweight, I'm now told, so that's no doubt the reason. It'll be particularly interesting to see where Paul goes, because he's likely to be up in front, not necessarily bang in front, but certainly up with the leaders, and he will have the chance of setting the tone from Tattenham Corner. I was asking him about it earlier, and he said that a lot would depend on what happened in the very first race, but as I've said, that didn't really prove anything, because they all came down that side. Anyway, this will be a very, very interesting race from that point of view, and it's entirely possible that 1 Fleet Street will stay in front, because he ran a real good race in the City and Suburban. We've lost 1 Fleet Street temporarily for some reason, but we'll no doubt find him again. He's over on the left. There he is. He ran a marvellous race against La Fontaine, who he meets again today on only slightly better terms, but then he was only beaten a slight distance. He was only beaten a neck by La Fontaine in the City and Suburban. So one with a real chance, number 10, 1 Fleet Street. Next door to him with the V is Irish Emperor, Mount of Ray Cochrane. Well, Irish Emperor won his last race, and that was something of an improvement, really, on his previous form. It was an apprentice race at Brighton, and he beat Mywell pretty comfortably in the end by 8 lengths. If he could reproduce that, I suppose he'd have a chance of winning again for Ray Cochrane. Number 11, Irish Emperor. In front of him there is Wearmouth, or just behind him rather, going round behind the stalls. The bottom weight, the Mount of Bryn Crossley, who will shortly be having his first mount in the Derby, though it's not a very hopeful one, I'm afraid, on Waverley Boy. I don't think he's got all that much chance on Wearmouth, but I might be wrong. He was second in his first run this year, beaten by Galveston quite a long way, and then didn't trouble the judge the next time. He's got some form that would give him a chance, but I'd have to call him an outsider. Number 14, Wearmouth. And there, round behind the stalls, you can see La Fontaine with the black V on the back of Willie Carson, who's already ridden one winner this afternoon, and La Fontaine has already showed his form over this course and distance, because, as I told you, he won the City and Suburban, coming from behind 1 Fleet Street and wearing him down. They had a pretty good long battle that day, and La Fontaine is slightly better off, but not so much that it makes him any certainty to be beaten by 1 Fleet Street. La Fontaine, incidentally, has had a run since then and didn't show all that much. Count Fernando in the foreground, number 13, Count Fernando, ridden by Ernie Johnson, hasn't had a run this season. What haven't we seen? Now, we haven't seen Iskandaroon. You see there in the 12 stall, that's Wally Swinburne, and look at those colours, because they're the colours he's going to be wearing on Shergar. In fact, Iskandaroon's got a big pair of blue blinkers, which make him easy to recognise, and Shergar's got a big white blaze down the front of his face, which will make him, I hope, easy to recognise. I wonder how Wally's feeling as he sets out for his last race before becoming the youngest man ever to ride a favourite in the Derby. I think they're nearly all in. Dukedom in the cross there, hasn't had a run since he ran over hurdles, but no, Dukedom's actually backed out now with John Mathias, but only 1 or 2 more to go in. Dukedom used to belong to the Queen, looked a good horse at the beginning of last season, but has had various things go wrong with him. But as Ferdinand goes in, over to you, Graham.
Count Fernando and St. Jonathan, the last 2 to go into the stalls. So this is the Daily Mirror Handicap, over 1.25 miles. The handler runs out from the front. That's it, they're under orders and they're off. And Dukedom in the very early stages is the early leader. From up on the inside, Irish Emperor, and then just in behind these, up on the outer, is 1 Fleet Street. And as they begin to settle down, it's Irish Emperor going on from Saluba in second, and Fine Sun on the inner is third. Then 1 Fleet Street up on the outside, followed by La Fontaine. Then comes Dukedom and Wearmouth, and the back markers at this stage include Iskandaroon. But it's Irish Emperor taking a very strong hold as they continue down the far side. From 1 Fleet Street up on the outside in second place, then Saluba is third. These are followed by La Fontaine, and behind La Fontaine is Fine Sun. Up on the outside of Fine Sun is St. Jonathan. Then comes Easter Sun and Iskandaroon and Dukedom. And then comes Mirror Boy, and the back marker at this stage is now Count Fernando. They begin the descent from the top of the hill, and Irish Emperor and young Tony McGlone setting the pace to 1 Fleet Street in second place, and Saluba on the rails is third. Then La Fontaine, St. Jonathan going smoothly up on the outside. Wearmouth you can see being nibbled along up on the outside. On the inside of Wearmouth is Iskandaroon, spot the blinkers. But they begin the descent now into Tattenham Corner, and it's now Irish Emperor in the lead. From 1 Fleet Street in second place, and Saluba, that's the one with the white place on the inside. And it's still Irish Emperor in the lead from 1 Fleet Street in second place. Then comes Saluba in third. Rounding Tattenham Corner, and Irish Emperor in the lead from 1 Fleet Street, Saluba. Then La Fontaine, Fine Sun handed on the rails. Then comes Iskandaroon, and it looks as if Paul Cook on 1 Fleet Street is coming very, very wide indeed. They've got just over 2 furlongs to go, and on the very far side, it's still Irish Emperor that leads. The one coming right over onto the stand side is 1 Fleet Street coming to race on his own, but under 2 furlongs to go, and it's Irish Emperor in the lead from La Fontaine second. Irish Emperor, La Fontaine with Easter Sun finishing strongly. A furlong and a half to travel. Irish Emperor from Easter Sun. La Fontaine, but also right in contention right on the stand rails. It's 1 Fleet Street, and as they come inside the final furlong, it's Irish Emperor with Easter Sun challenging very strongly from the very wide outside. 1 Fleet side and one Fleet Street on the stand side. Then came Irish Emperor and Fine Sun and La Fontaine and Mirabeau and Iskenderun. Then Salubra and Wearmouth and St. Jonathan behind.